at the throat. In the 8 months on the road, agents terrorized the gold camps. It estimated they robbed and murdered 102 people. As the robberies and killings increased, people became afraid to travel from home. It became apparent to some that perhaps their own sheriff could be involved in some way with the innocents. Conspiracy theories go back ages, it looks like. On December 23, 1863, the Vigilante Committee was organized, patterned after a similar organization in California. Its members included citizens from both Virginia City and Bannock. Its leaders were Paris L. Poufs, President; James Williams, Executive Officer; Wilbur Sander, Official Prosecutor. During the next 42 days, vigilantes, under the direction of James Wilbur, went as far as the Canadian border in pursuit of members of the gang. By the end of January, they'd executed 24 of the robber band, including Henry Plummer, and banished or silenced the remainder. Too bad they couldn't go after Al-Qaeda. But then again, they probably wouldn't be able to find the same if they nuked Montana. When the gold rush was in its peak, jails were seldom used. Offenders were either warned, told to get out of town, or hung. No one wanted the job of guarding prisoners when they could be working their climb. After Henry Plummer was elected to the office of sheriff on May 24, 1863, he had the jails constructed at their present site. They were a plain view from his offices in the back of the Christmas store. Inside the smaller jail, the prisoners' chains were attached to the metal rings. Today, looking through the barred windows, the gallows are in plain sight. The gallows were ordered constructed by Henry Plummer, lawman and outlaw of Bannock. John Peters Horan, R.C. Raleigh, and Ned Ray, Buck Stinson, and Henry Plummer was the only men hanged on the gallows. Justice was often swift in the early mining towns. On January 10, 1864, several vigilantes from Virginia City arrived in Bannock. They had recently captured and hung Red Yeager and others. Before Yeager was hung, he confessed and implicated Plummer as the leader of the innocents. The vigilantes from Virginia City, along with the vigilantes from Bannock, decided they must capture Mr. Plummer and his associates, Ned Ray and Buck Stinson. They planned to apprehend and hang them the next day, but received word that 3 fresh horses had been brought into town. Afraid that the leader of the road agents was about to escape, they decided to act immediately. They proceeded in the regiment military fashion and captured all 3 of the men. Not a shot was fired on the cold January evening. Just about dark, the 3 men were marched up the gallows. All 3 were lifted up and dropped to their death. Henry Plummer, after pleading his innocence, begged the vigilantes to give me a good drop. Built in 1877, this was the first building in Bannock built exclusively for the purpose of worship. Throughout Bannock's history, the womenfolk often remarked in their letters and diaries of the lack of a proper place to worship. Religion played an important part in their lives, of the first respectable women to come to this little mining town, and no doubt had a lot to do with their tolerance of life here. However, not having a place to hold regular meetings was also a problem. Mary Edgerton is said to have carried with her across the plains a letter from a minister stating that she was a member of full and regular standing in her church in Talmage, and recommended her to any Church of Christ, whether her lot may be cast. Circuit riders became the norm for the isolated town like Bannock. One of the more famous ones to come to Bannock had the significant impact was William von Ordensale, fondly remembered as Brother Van. As the price of gold declined, so did Bannock's population. It was no longer affordable for the townspeople to operate the mines, which were the main source of income for the families in Bannock. With the absence of jobs, people were forced to go elsewhere to find a suitable means of support. Their families. In the late 40s, the majority of the population had moved on to other areas, and Bannock was becoming a ghost town. The post office ceased to exist. The schoolhouse was closed. There was no doctor. There was no grocery store. Bannock, once the proud capital of Montana Territory, was abandoned. Its gold sands washed clean, its people gone, and the tourists now visit Bannock to take a step back in history. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. This is Pacific Northwest Ghost Towns. Have a nice day. Goodbye.